So, one of the things that we need to understand as Christians is that we are in a war. There is a war going on around us. And I'm not talking about things that are happening with other countries, or where I'm not talking about, some sort of conspiracy theories with, this political party or that political party or whatever. No, I'm not. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something very real, realer than that, if you will. And what we're talking about is something that Jesus understood very, very clearly. And you might be thinking I'm just some sort of wackadoo with wearing you know, tinfoil hat or something. But no, Jesus was convinced. Paul was convinced. Christians throughout the ages have been convinced. C.S. Lewis once said that we are living in enemy-occupied territory, because what happened in the Garden of Eden was not just sin entered the world. That happened. But at the same time, is that this world was given to Adam and Eve to begin with. Then they handed it over to Satan when they gave in to his temptation. And since that moment, this world is now in his control, his possession. He is the ruler of this world. That will not be always be the case. If you read in Revelation, Jesus reclaims it. He takes the scroll, which is the deed to this earth, and he reclaims this earth, which is much, which is going to lead to some of the greatest celebration of all time. But until then, we are living here in enemy-occupied territory. In fact, Michael Heiser once said that something along the lines that when you get baptized, baptism is like enlisting in the army. You are now part of the war, and you are making it clear on which side you stand. And when you do that, you need to be ready, because it's coming after you. The enemy is coming after you. So, are we left to be alone? Are we left to just deal with it? No. Paul gives us very clear understanding of what's going on. And in Ephesians 6, he tells us to be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, giving everything you have, to stand firm. Stand, therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take up the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying at all times with all in the Spirit, with all prayer and supplication. Paul makes it very clear. This is not just allegorical. This is what's going on around us. And as we remember, if you remember from the end of the Hunger Games, remember who the real enemy is. Actually, no, that was Catching Fire. That's the important thing to remember who the real enemy is. The enemy isn't this political party or that political party or this group of people or that group. No, the enemy is the satanic forces that are all around us that we cannot see. What is unseen going on all around us. So we need to be ready for that. And we got to put on the armor. Now, these pieces of armor are all gifts from God. We're talking about truth, righteousness, the gospel of peace, faith, and salvation. These are things that we need to hold on, that we need to use as our protection. These are going to protect us from the attacks. And these things should be very clear and out front and evident in our lives. But we're not just sitting here like leaning back and just taking punches all day long for the rest of our lives. We are called to fight back. We're given a sword, the Bible, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. And in order to use that sword, it needs to be sharp, it needs to be refined, it needs to be polished, it needs to be ready to go. You need to take care of your sword, and you need to know how to use it. So you need to study it. And we're also told prayer is a weapon. Jesus didn't walk around. He would use the Word of God, but when he would cast out demons, prayer, he told us prayer and fasting are useful. We need to use those sometimes. And if you don't believe in exorcisms, Jesus sure did. And in fact, if we look here, this right here, okay, this is a picture of a place called Caesarea Philippi. We read about this in Matthew when Peter decided to proclaim, to make his proclamation, when he was moved, when Jesus asked, "Who do you say that I am?" And that's the question that Jesus has for every single human. Who do you say that I am? And if you, like Peter, are say, you are the Messiah, Jesus, you are the Messiah, you are the Son of the living God, the chosen one. And if you say that, then you're taking a stand. And this is where Peter made that proclamation. And Jesus said to him, right here in Matthew chapter 16, verses 17 to 19, he said, "Blessed are you, Simon." Simon was his given name. Bar-Jonah, that's his dad. "For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." This was a divine revelation. "And I tell you, you are Peter." So he's saying, this is where we get the name Peter. Peter means rock. And then Jesus says, "And on this rock right here, Jesus is establishing his church." And he says, "And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it," or shall not withstand it. "I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven." We have the ability. "Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." This right here has been taken to mean some different things, but given the context, we're talking about the forces of evil. We're talking about demons and dealing with demons. Whatever we use, we have the keys of heaven to bind demonic spirits and to set captives free. That is why Jesus came. He said he came to set the captives free. We are given those keys to do that. We are brought in to this fight. Notice too that not the forces of hell. It doesn't say the forces of hell. It says the gates of hell. I have a gate out front. That gate is not for attacking. The gate is for protection, for defense. The defenses of hell are under attack. We are taking the fight to the enemy. And when we do that, he is not going to just let us go. He won't prevail. It's not going to happen. Jesus said so. We're taking the fight to the forces of hell. We're going to tear down that gate, and we're going to reclaim this earth. That is what you are into. That is what it means to be a Christian. So, put on the armor, pick up your sword, and start praying.